Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Admire Sandile. Now, the DA is a political party that lacks a strategy to convince us that it's going to win in 2024. It's a political party which, in the current administration, has been very involved in protecting President Cyril Ramaphosa and making sure that it gets rid of black leaders in all its positions. And we know that there are those, or majority of the black leaders that I'm talking about, have decided to resign. But they've resigned because they felt isolated. They've resigned because no one listened to them. They've resigned because they were kept or put in a hostile environment, and then they were left with no other option than to resign. So the DA has been exposed as a political party that does not like black people. And unfortunately, in South Africa, the majority are black people. And we know that most of the black people who supports the DA, these are the clever blacks. These are people who are well established. These are people who thinks and believes that white people will come and save South Africa. These are the people who stays in suburbs. These are the people who are employees who can sustain their lives. These are the people who do not necessarily need the basic services which are supposed to be rendered to the people by the state. And they advocate for bicycle lanes. They advocate for things that are not basic, things that a person can live without. So the DA is that type of home which they felt will receive them well and can fight for what they desire. The DA it's considered mostly by black people who are well off, mostly by black people who do not need the basic services from government. And unfortunately, when they emerge as leaders, as black leaders in the DA, they come to see what the DA is really, or what the DA really is. They come to see what the DA really represents. They come to read and understand the policies of the DA and find its political position or policy position. And then they realize that this political party is not a home for black people. This political party has no policy that seeks to help black people, but to protect the interests of white people. And then they are left with no other option but to resign. So because they resign, it doesn't mean that these people have problems. Moses Maimane speaks about his role in the DA and trying to fight, for DA to be inclusive of black people, but no one listened to him, and then they started to show him his true colors. And he says that there was one trip which Helen Zille took, and then when he came back from that trip, she was a changed person, and she was one of the few people who understood or who wanted to listen to Maimane. And then when she came back a changed person, it is when Moses Maimane realized that they've created a hostile environment, and there is no way that he can prosper in this political party. And there were white people who were calling him black, who were calling him a thing, who hated him to be there. They did not want to see him anywhere in the DA. And he was left with no other option but to resign. We've seen a person like Herman Mashaba being accused of being an EFF mayor because whatever he was implementing in Johannesburg, it was to benefit black people. It's very few white people who want to be security guards. It's very few. I don't think there are white people who want to be cleaners in government. I don't think there are white people who want to be in the JMPD. So all the jobs that he created, the jobs of that thing of insourcing, creating jobs for, in the city, JMPD and things like that. All the jobs that he created were benefited. They benefited black people, and then the DA saw that he is not representing what they want, and all they want is to protect the interests of white people. And unfortunately, Herman Mashaba was not doing that. And then They isolated him. They created an hostile environment, which led to him to resign. So that is their strategy. They did this with Mpho Phalatse. Mpho Phalatse was never afforded an opportunity to lead freely in Johannesburg. And she recently resigned as councillor. She was scared maybe to resign entirely as a member. Maybe it's because of where she stays, we don't know. But she resigned as councillor because she was isolated. No one took her serious, and then she was not doing anything. And then she decided to resign, to focus to her own career and help black people, because that's what she says she loves doing. She loves helping black people. So she went back to practice as a general practitioner, a doctor, and help people. So the DA does not want blacks who create opportunities for other black people. The DA does not want blacks who are leaders and who don't protect the interests of white people. So it's not only Maimane, Mashaba, and Phalatse. There are so many black people, Phumzile van Dam, who were there, who left, Patricia de Lille, things like that. So these are the people who came to realize that, Athol Trolley, these are the people who came to realize that the DA does not represent people inclusive, but the interests of only white people. And a lot of us have realized that, because the DA got a lot of votes in Gauteng because of Mmusi Maimane. The DA is getting a lot of votes wherever it is other than the Western Cape because of black faces. And now that black faces are no longer there, they got their votes, they no longer need them. No one is going to vote for them. And we don't know the mission that the generation led by John Steenhuisen represents. We don't know, because it is quiet on the matters involving, or scandals involving the President Ramaphosa. Steenhuisen is very quiet. The DA of Steenhuisen protects the president. It doesn't want anyone near the president of the ANC. They don't love the ANC. They don't love black people. They love the president. They protect the president. It's for the first time in South Africa where we see an official opposition fighting other opposition parties that they must not touch the president of the ruling party or the state. It's for the first time. And I think a lot of us have seen DA exposing itself. It has exposed itself, and it has shown us that it hates us. It hates black people. And there is no strategy that they have. You know, I don't know who they are talking to. And even the black people who are still attending the rallies of the DA, I don't know what they are doing, because there is no one of their own. Who is going to represent them? Who is going to represent them? Because even in the ANC, the people who are there, the people who have been there, not the current president, the people who have been there, they did not focus on the interests of white people. All they wanted in the beginning was equal opportunities, which means white people had opportunities. And when they said equal opportunities, they meant taking half of white people have and sharing amongst each other to be equal. And then it grew like that. And then we started to see emerging successful black leaders and professionals, you know, in government and in the private sector. So the current administration, led by President Ramaphosa, is taking us back to where white people will still continue to have a majority of the stake in this cake. So they see that they have one of their own, and they are happy. The DA is happy because the president is protecting the interests of white people, and everything is just being sold in front of him, and he doesn't care. He doesn't hold Pravin Gordhan to account. there's nothing that he is doing. That is why the EFF says he's a man on top doing nothing. There's nothing that he is doing. So we need a government that will be led by a black person who is going to fight for the interests of black people, because we are the majority in this country and we stand to benefit. We must be respected as such, and we must have equal opportunities. So the one thing that exposes the DA is that when its black leaders advocate for equal opportunities, when its black leaders say that black people in South Africa must have opportunities the same way as white people, they disown such leaders. They create a hostile environment and leave such leader with no other option but to resign. That is the strategy of the DA. That is how they've been dealing with everyone else. And these people go on to form their own small political parties to show us what they wanted the DA to be, what they wanted the DA to represent. It is unfortunate that they become trapped, like the Action SA leader, Herman Mashaba. He becomes trapped and had to crawl back to the DA because he took wrong money to finance the political party, and he aligned with wrong people who take money from the very same people who funds the DA. That is why now we see the moonshot pack, we see a pre-coalition agreement, the things that do not make sense, and we see him crawling back to kiss the devil. So these are some of the clever blacks that we have in South Africa who are misled, and they confuse us. They confuse us because the political moves that they make do not make sense. I mean, what Herman Mashaba has done to go back and speak to the DA, to me, doesn't make sense, because it seems like he is giving to us TDA 2.0. So that is not what we want. The DA lacks a strategy. That is why now it is inviting to the party everyone else excluding the ANC and DA and EFF. What are they saying? The EFF is advocating for black people to thrive in South Africa, for black people to succeed in South Africa, for black people to own the land in South Africa, for black people to be equal to white people in terms of opportunities, for black people to thrive in business and things like that. So they don't want someone who speaks like that, because these people will open our eyes. These people will make sure that we no longer see white people as our parents did. Our parents were scared of white people, and they didn't hold to account these people, and then they didn't take them as head on. They didn't compete them in any way. They wanted jobs from them and be paid peanuts. They wanted leftovers from them. So some political parties like the EFF are saying that we must create jobs. We must have access to the land. We must occupy the land. We must nationalize banks. We must nationalize these mines and all strategic sectors, so that we sustain our own, we have our own sustainable economy and create jobs from within. So the DA doesn't want someone who speaks like that. The DA wants someone who doesn't understand what they are doing. They want someone who just speaks without action. They want someone who doesn't have some sort of growth. And they can't find that in the EFF. And then they want to label the EFF as a political party that is going to ruin South Africa. They want to label the EFF as a political party that is going to take South Africa back to apartheid, which is not the case. And I believe that the DA, if it can be in power, the DA is the political party that is going to take us back to apartheid, because it represents the interests of the minority, and everyone else, all black people who have been there, who have been in leadership positions, they've seen the DA for what it is, and they are exposing it to us. They form these political parties to expose the DA for what it is, and they challenged the DA from outside, because they tried to challenge the DA from inside and no one listened to them. So now that they're challenging the DA from outside, they are exposing the DA, and we can see that what strategy does it have? What are the promises to the people, other than making sure that they retain Western Cape and make noise in other provinces? And I think they should be given a chance and they should be challenged. I think Patriotic Alliance must challenge the DA. They must not go in bed with the DA. They must challenge the DA. The EFF must crush the DA. Even the ANC, they must challenge the DA, because the DA does not like black leaders. The DA does not like black people. The DA is not a political home for black people. So there's no way that the DA can ever have the interest of the people at heart. It hates black people. It is there to protect the interests of the minority, and the president, who is said to be a project of white monopoly capital. It is not me. These are what politicians tell us. This is why the likes of Ace Magashule are telling us that they made a mistake in considering President Ramaphosa in 2012 and bringing him back to politics. He says that they were outsmarted by white people. But now he saw that and he exposed that, and we know what is transpiring in South Africa. And these are the people who are fighting the ANC from outside. Mmusi Maimane, Hemen Mashaba, they are fighting the DA from outside. So no strategy whatsoever that convinces us that the DA is going to be government in 2024. The DA is going to drop in 2024, and the DA will never come back. I mean, using black faces worked for them. They shook Gauteng in 2014? Yeah, in 2014, using Maimane, which I think he won, but he was robbed. And they tried to invade other provinces. They tried to invade metros using black faces. And I think it worked. But now that they've got rid of all those black people and only few are left who are there for their own benefit and not for the interests of the people, I think they are no longer going to come back come 2024. The Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Kunene says the DA is causing disruptions and chaos in Johannesburg because they want everything for themselves. So it still exposes the DA for what it is, that they want to lead alone. They don't support democracy, even though they claim to be Democratic Alliance. Their first name is democracy, but they are not democratic. So he exposes them that they are causing chaos. They always want to put motions of no confidence against the mayor. They want to change everything. They want all positions to be run by their people. They want the mayor to come from DA. They want the speaker to come from DA. They want MMCs to come from DA. They want to lead using the majority, even though the people did not trust them with majority of their votes. So they've been voted out in Johannesburg because the people have seen, they can see what they represent. The people can see that this DA has no interest of black people at heart. So they are now exposed. They are now naked. So then the ruling party is in a deathbed. The number one opposition, the official opposition, is naked. It's exposed for what it is, and it should be treated as such, and it shouldn't be voted for because it doesn't represent us. It does not represent us. It has never represented us. It has only used our people for their faces to fool us, to give them power, to give them numbers in parliament, and then they got rid of our people because they don't like us. Because when our people are there, they want to represent black people. They fight for their policy to change, to be inclusive of everyone. But the DA does not agree to that. The DA create some hostility and leave these people with no other option but to resign. So this is Authentic Info Podcast. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Let's grow together. Thank you.